Hey folks, and welcome back to Apocalyptic Guitars. This is Nate. I did get my bandsaw blade, yes, and what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a couple of, well, we're going to tackle some things today. Now I'm going to show you here, we have a roughed out fretboard here. And it is cut down to size, and the cool thing about these fretboards, the ones that I make, is that at the 24th, basically the 23rd to the 24th, it goes to a fall off, which means it kind of goes down like that, and typically most custom builders actually do this with their guitars. They have a fall off right here at the very end of the fretboard. That is, of course, for string vibration, and but we do have it roughly sized, thickness, I should say, and basically we need to plane the rest of this. Now it is pretty much almost there. If we take the straight edge here, and this is a flat surface, so it's pretty much there. There just needs to be more planing on this side to get it kind of equal. So yeah, planing is fun. Not really. But yeah, we'll get it to where we need it. Basically, yeah. Now I don't know if I'm going to use maple on this or not. I don't know. I haven't decided if I want to go maple on maple. It was a good idea at first, but I don't know. I'm thinking Pt.4 might look better on these here necks. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Either Pt.4 or Zero Cote, but we'll see. We'll see when we get there. I still don't know. And what we're gonna do is for the angled headstock. Now I know I didn't show you. We're gonna get into how to do scarf joints at a later time, but I am going to plane this down to be perfectly flat for the fretboard. So we're going to do some planing today. Now I did get my fresh new bandsaw blade, and this thing cuts wonderfully. It cuts beautifully. So we are going to be using this. And yeah, straight as an arrow. So we're going to be using that to cut down another fretboard, which is of course the one I'm using. Well, I may use for the flat headstock neck, which is right here. I don't know yet, but we're gonna make them anyway because I still want to use these fretboards no matter what. So whether it's a different like material neck, like maybe mahogany neck or whatever, and I'll use these because I like to have a variety of color in my guitars. I like to have variety of different woods in my guitars. So if it's maple on maple, yeah, that looks cool and all, but I like color in my guitars. And I like to use color based on woods. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. I don't know exactly yet, but we'll see. So we're gonna plane this down to be totally flat. So let's get to that, shall we? All right, we got our fretboard on a flat surface here, glued on with the super glue and masking tape trick. Now this works well with planing as well. It won't move. So we have our plane. Now we want to make sure that our plane is totally square with the edge, and we know now that this is not. So we need to adjust it. And it's very sensitive when adjusting. So take your time with this step. You don't want to overdo this step. Alright, now I know that's square. If you run your fingers along it, you should feel equal resistance on the blade. Being careful not to slice your fingers. You don't want to slice your fingers on this stuff. And we got to make sure we're... Alright, that looks like we're square and even. Now, planing is not exactly fun. It does take some strength. Trust me, it takes strength. Now, there are certain ways you can do this. You can go at an angle and slice it, like, slice it down like that, or you can go with it. In my experience, it's easier to slice than it is to go straight on. That's my experience, though. And what we need to do is go a little bit more. There we go. Another key to remember is you don't want to push down on the front here. You don't want to push down on this all the way down, because then you'll create a bow or a curve at the end. Go about halfway pushing down, then push down on the back when you follow in. And you'll know when you're flat. Trust me, you'll know when you're flat. Now, as you can see, I'm creating shavings, right? Very small shavings. And that's what you want. You want very thin, small shavings. You don't want to go overboard with it. If you start going overboard with it, then you might be doing something wrong. So you want to really take your time with it. If this is your first time planing anything, you're going to want to take your time with it. See, the good thing about using a planer instead of sandpaper or whatever is that you get a nice, smooth finish. You could basically put finish on this right now, if you desire. And that's perfect fall away right there. You want it thick enough to fit your tang on your frets, and still be stable enough, but also you want that fall away, because the string vibrates. A guitar string vibrates from the nut to the saddle, to the end of the saddle, and it goes in a round circle like this, and as it goes down towards the middle, the circle gets bigger. So that's why the fall away is there. It's perfectly legit to have a fall away on a fretboard. Now, you can always check your flatness by using a fretboard straight edge, which is what we have here. Now, we know that we have fall away right here. So, the fall away starts at about, I don't know, we'll just say the 20th, right? So I know from the nut down to here is perfectly straight. So the fall away starts here, and that's about the 14th fret. So the fall away might start at the 14th fret. Now we can keep going until we get it flat to where it's down, the fall away's down more towards the end right here. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna keep going. Until we get flatter by the 14th fret. Now you can always check too, if you wanted. You could check with a ruler to see the thicknesses on both sides, if you want. You don't have to, because you might want to check by the end of your job, your planing job, to see where you're at. But most of the time, planing can be therapeutic, but just be prepared to do work, to put some, force behind it. Even your blade could be as sharp as, an X-Acto knife, or even sharper, but you're still going to have to put some force behind it. No matter what. It's not just going to go, oh yeah, blink, and that's it. You're going to have to put some force or muscle behind it. But that feels really good, so we'll take a little more off this side. And a good way to, if you're going off at an angle like this the whole way down, if you're going off, it's not even. The best way is to hold it as flat as you can, kind of angle it a little bit, and then kind of mow it down. And then eventually you'll go from like this to this, which we're pretty much dead on. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Planing's not that fun. As I said before, it could be therapeutic, but at the same time, it's not fun. So we've taken shavings off. Now we can check. Now there are different people that say different things about planes. Some people say you're not supposed to put your plane flat on your bench. Other people say it's fine to put it flat on your bench. It all depends on what. Like I'll do both. Like I'm not. In my experience, if I put it flat on my bench, it doesn't affect the plane at all. It still cuts straight. So I mean, that's up to you guys to decide that. Alright, so we're totally flat here. We're flat here. Now you got to remember, this is kind of bowing up a little bit, which is good. It's to be expected, but it is still flat. Like if you push it down, you got to remember this is a thin piece of wood now. So it's going to be flat. All you have to do is touch it to make it go flat again. So that's what I'm doing. I'm pushing down in the middle of the fretboard to kind of flatten it out. Now what we can see here is that the fall away, actually, that's pretty much perfect right there. The fall away starts about right here. I'd say 20, I don't know, the 18th fret is probably where it starts. And that's perfect. That's where we want to go. From here, let's push it down the middle here. And you got to remember, we're going to radius this too. So, yeah, about the 18th fret there. This has a little bit of curve to it, which doesn't matter because we're going to radius this. We're going to radius this too. We're aiming for a 12-inch radius. Now you could do any radius you want. Basically, you can do a 10-inch radius. You can do, a 17-inch radius. It really doesn't matter. Whatever fits you. Or if you're not building for yourself, I would stick to a 12 because it's a happy medium. At least in my experience, it's a happy medium. But that there looks great, actually. Yep. That there looks perfect. So, we have now a nice fretboard. Now what we're going to do... Now I have the biggest friggin' square you can possibly have for this job. But, sometimes this is essential. See how easily it pulls up? But it stood strong enough to plane with this masking tape and super glue trick. So, I'd highly recommend using it. It's a great trick to use. Now we could check to see how square it is. Now again, you might have started to radius it already and you don't even know it. So yeah, I've already started to radius this and I didn't even know it. However, it is square from the middle, from the center point. Let me see if you could see this. I don't know if you can or not, right? From the center point to the edge right here, that is square. But I've started to radius it on both sides, which is fine. That saves you some work. So we want to go down here, make sure. Yep. We got the same thing. Same thing. Same thing. Same thing. We're straight. We're square. That is a fretboard, folks. Now, if this is your very first fretboard, or if you want to start making fretboards, I would highly suggest to get one that's already been, get one from StewMac or a lumberyard that also does musical instrument stuff. I would get one already thicknessed and cut and everything. And then you can slot the fret yourself. But I wouldn't suggest building your own right away. Study it. Study the fretboard first. Buy one in. Study it. That's how I got started in this. I studied fretboards. And, I studied the thicknesses of them. And how to radius them and how to fret slot them. I wouldn't suggest jumping into anything that has to do with guitar building right away. This stuff takes skill, a little bit of skill, and it takes some time to actually get it. Now, I don't mean that to be discouraging to anybody, because I encourage anyone to build guitars, but the sad truth is you don't want to rush into something, especially if you're doing this to sell them. If you have a guitar company, if you're thinking about getting or establishing a guitar company, yeah, you want to take your time on this stuff. You don't want to just willy-dilly and think that, oh, I can just do this right away and then, you know, do it. Because chances are you'll make tons of mistakes. And that's actually the truth. That's not, like, I'm not just saying that to discourage people, because honestly, I wish everyone in the world could make guitars, you know, and be successful at it, you know. But this here, you know, let's get out the flat headstock guitar neck. See, we have our flat headstock guitar neck now, and our nut line, I drew it on the other side of the fretboard. This is totally flat, so this is our nut line, and there we go. That is totally sitting on there flat and nice. And what we would do is you could plane it or you could do whatever you want, but I route this out, the excess on either side. I route that down to be flush with the neck. But you can do it however you want. But that right there, that's beautiful to me. Yeah. And then of course what we're going to do is radius it. You can use a plane to radius, like I've been doing. I've actually been doing that without even knowing it. And you'll do that. You know, you just got to check it every now and then so you don't go overboard on radiusing. You got to check it. And especially if you don't know that you're doing it, you want to check it every once in a while to make sure you're not going freaking crazy on it, because you don't want to go crazy. But yeah, that's beautiful. I don't know, I might use this. I might use this. Actually, I might use this on the angled headstock that I have here with the scarf joint. I might use this on this. Let me make sure, yeah. So our nut line is right there. Yeah, look at that. I might use that. I don't know yet. I don't know. I like color in my guitars. So I don't know if I'm gonna use it or not, but we'll definitely. Now I gotta plane this too. So we'll put this fretboard aside. This is cool. So we're going to put that aside, and we're going to put the flat headstock guitar aside. Now, we need to plane this so it's totally flat. Now, when you're doing a scarf joint, chances are it's not going to be completely perfect all the way down, because you're gluing two pieces together, right? So as long as the joint itself is flat and you have enough room to carve, you're all set. But chances are it's not going to happen the way you want it to happen. So let's get into this one, shall we? Again, you don't want any wrinkles in your tape when doing this. You don't want any wrinkles at all. You want it as smooth as possible. Like right here. Right there, I have a little wrinkle. So we'll just get rid of that by just doing this. Ready? Woo! And then smoothing it out. Just like that. And here's another trick for you. If you're not sure, like if you can't see where your tape lines are, put the glue on the masking tape that's connected to your work. That way you won't be gluing your actual work to the workbench if it's off. You'll be gluing the tape to the workbench instead. And that's a lot better than gluing your work to the workbench. Let me tell you that right now. I'll tell you something. Alright. So there we go. And we just push it down. Now these necks have stayed flat and straight. They've actually stayed flat and straight, which I was expecting a twist or a warp because we have cut it down, but they stayed flat and straight, and they've been sitting here for I don't know, I've got it done 2 days ago, and they still stay flat. So what we need to do is we need to flatten this part down, because you know, as you can see, I don't know if you can see it. Let me try to angle this to where you could see it. This part right here, because this is where the scarf joint was. is rather. So we need to plane this flat. You also want it flat for the nut as well. So, and then basically what you can do is you can redraw your center line after and where your nut line is. So it's perfect. That's all you really need. And we just wait here for a few seconds here. Now, if we come in here with the straight edge, we could see that there's a slight, maybe not even a half a mil of light coming in through that, which isn't, that's when you know it's not bad. Yeah, there's about not even half a mil of light coming through there. So yeah, that's pretty good for, but we still want to make it totally flat. So this is how we do it. Alright, so we have it on the same setting, the plane on the same setting, which cut beautifully, by the way. And then we just basically just go for it. Now with the neck, I do suggest cutting with the wood instead of at an angle like this. I would suggest cutting with it, because you'll get the flatness of the heel. And here's another thing if you're doing this. If you're doing a scarf joint or a neck, you don't want to push all the way down the neck, because this is flat. This is where we want to be, right? So you're going to want to follow where you cut here all the way down. You don't want to push all the way down on the front here, because you'll end up bowing it down. We don't want that, so. And you'll be able to know just how flat you are, because it won't want to cut anymore. So now we'll test that out. We'll see. Now I have no light coming through. And on this side, we have a little bit, so we have to work on this side a little bit, just a little bit. And that's no problem, because that happens. So we'll just work on this side a little bit. We'll make sure we're totally good to go. And keep checking. You got to keep checking this stuff every once in a while. We're getting real close. Really, 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 really close. So. And that might have done it. Now don't forget, your fretboard's going to be covering this line, this glue line here. And your truss rod's going to go in there anyway too. So seriously, don't worry about don't worry at all about scarf joint glue lines, especially inside and out, because you're going to be carving anyway. So yep. I just got to take off this little edge here, and we should be good to go. Just this little edge here. Alright, let's see. That might have been all it took. So just a little bit right there. I could see where it is. A little bit right there is where we need to be. And that might have been it. Let's check. There we go. That was it. That's all it took. So now we're flat on the whole neck. Now, you can come back now with a template, and you can basically come back and redraw where you were. Now I still have line left here, so I know exactly where I need to be, which is about right there. Exactly right there. So you can go around and draw it out however you want to do it. That's how you plane and flatten fretboards and necks. It's very, very simple to do. So yeah, let's get back to my ugly ass friggin' face. All right, folks, that's it for this episode. We learned a lot today, how to plane fretboards and necks to be flat. That's you want your stuff to be flat, or else it ain't gonna function right and it ain't gonna look right. So we finally got the bandsaw blade. So we'll be doing more cutting in the next video. I just wanted to show you how to do this, how to plane your fretboards and your necks. So that's a step that needs to be done before anything else. Anything, the truss rod goes in and you start to carve or cut or anything like that. So I hope this was informational for you. I know it was running kind of long, but hey, what can I do? I'm just I'm just behind the camera, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, we'll kick it back up tomorrow and we'll do even more stuff. So thanks for watching, guys. This is Nate, Apocalyptic Guitars. Take care.